Okay, so the key to training knee flexion is you want to make sure you're really well warmed up, and you want to make sure you have very gentle progressions. You don't want people going straight into full Nordic attempts if they haven't put their hamstrings under any strain, because there's a very good chance the first time you do it you might get a cramp if you haven't done it in a while, or if you've just never put your hamstrings under that kind of tension. So you want to make sure you have some really gentle progressions figured out, and for that I've got Jill, and I'm going to walk you through different progressions. So a few options. First, you want to get a partner who's roughly your weight. Jill's much lighter than me, but she can kind of get the job done. So depending on how comfortable you are with the partner, you just need some weight sort of in the back of your feet, just like that. If people know each other really well, they can flip around the other way and put their knees on your feet and then put their hands on your calves. But it just sort of depends on how well people know each other, because Jill will end up with my bum in her face. Which, you know, is not going to be cool for all partners. So just find something that works. This will work pretty well. So one progression I quite like, I call them Nordic worms. They're a combination of inchworms and Nordics, and they're just sort of a nice way to see how your body feels under tension. With this, you're not going to be able to keep your hips open up all the way because your arms won't be long enough. So naturally your hips will break a little bit, which is fine. But we want to make sure that the movement is coming from the hamstrings. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and come forward until I have tension. Okay, I'm going to put my hands on the ground, and then I'm just going to go ahead and walk myself out with tension on my hamstrings. Okay, I'm going to walk myself back with tension on my hamstrings. That's a nice way just to get your hamstrings used to the full range of motion. Now, you don't want to get too tired out on these, but they're a good way for your body to feel. A version of this that I like, and if you have some suspension trainers set up, then you can do this. And I call these Nordic fallouts, because they're a bit like a suspension trainer fallout, except you've got this right here, and it just gives you a few more options than using your hands only, because the height is adjustable. So I'm just going to shift over here for a second. Okay, I'm going to get my partner to weigh down on me again. Now with this one, you can experiment with all different places to put your hands. If you do it as a fallout, your hands will come ahead. And actually what I do is I kind of start with my hands out to the side, and then they just go where I need them to. So from here, I'm just going to go ahead and sort of do like almost like a press up, and then I'm going to pull myself back up. I can use my hands as much as I need to. Now you can do a bit of a fallout. If you come out here, okay, you can kind of feel your hamstrings there, and then you can also pull yourself back. So that's another way to give yourself support. So I usually start over here, and then as I need to, okay, as I come out, I might end up in this overhead position, keeping my abs tight, not letting my lower back go into hyperextension, and then I'll pull myself back, and I'll move my hands as I need to support them. That's a much gentler movement, but you do get to feel that tension all the way. If you don't have enough strength to get some range of motion on your Nordics or your razor curls, and you just collapse, this is a nice way so you can actually feel that full range of motion, but scaled back a little bit. After that, we can start going into some of the classic progressions. So this next one is called a razor or a harp curl, and with this one, with a full Nordic, you keep your hips open all the way, squeezing your bum, so you want a nice straight line from your shoulders through your hips, through your knees, and you want to keep that relationship as you come forward. With the razor curls or the harp curls, you change a little bit, because you do break at the hips, okay? And the way that you create progression from this is that you improve your leverage. You make your levers shorter and shorter and shorter until you can hit it. So with this one, instead of keeping my hips open with this razor curl, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and push my bum back, okay? And then with my bum, I need a heavier partner. I might need you to grab a kettlebell or something. Can you grab like a 32 kettlebell? Okay, Jill's going to grab a kettlebell. Okay, cool. So again, I'm breaking at the hips here, and I'm coming down. And then what I can do to progress this, okay, is gradually I can open up my hips more and more and more and more until I'm getting something that looks a bit more like a full Nordic. So Jill's going to come back. I'm going to see if this extra 20 kilos will help her a little bit. You can do this in class too with your partners. And just as always, okay, remember that you can use the leverage of the kettlebell. So if she keeps the kettlebell close to her, it might give a little bit of resistance. If she kind of keeps it out a little bit, her resistance arm will become a little bit longer. So she's got her weight in there, okay? Yeah. She's got it weighing down. All right, so now I'm gonna break at my hips, Yeah. Here, try holding it out away from you. Yeah, no, that's okay. The weight can be on the ground. You don't have to hold it yourself. Yeah, so hold it out, wait for me. Okay, ready? So this gives you an idea of how much weight your hamstrings are taking. Because Jill with the kettlebell, I mean, that's, I don't know how much Jill weighs, like 70. About 70. So that's about 90 kilos right there, which is weird because I don't weigh that much, but it's just the length of my lever going against Jill's weight. So another way you can do it is Jill has this chair set up now, so that means all the weight will be right here. I'm just going to do it in plantar flexion. Some people put themselves in dorsiflexion, but usually I've found that any of the setups I've had, it's always been easier to wedge my feet underneath. So now Jill's sitting on it and she has a kettlebell. So this should give us a bit more stability. So same thing, I'm going to break my hips. I'm going to come through, okay. My head's going to touch. I'm going to pull myself back up. So that's the razor curl. And again, with the razor curl, you put your hips back as much as you need to. And that's a very realistic way to get people to do variations of Nordics and still get quite a good range of motion. The final one is going to be a full Nordic. And I can't do a full Nordic. I might never be able to do a full Nordic without any kind of support. It becomes a really specialized movement past a certain point. Even if you just do it once or twice a week, it can be quite hard to get up to it. So with this version, what you want to do is you want to have as much control on the way down, because you want to get that nice eccentric contraction on the way down. Have your hands ready to catch yourself. Once again, you don't want this to be your first variation, because you don't want to do this with cold hamstrings. You don't want to do this if your hamstrings have never felt this kind of tension. So make sure you ease into it. I'm going to have my hands ready. I'm going to come down. Okay, that was actually pretty good. Okay, and then from there, you just kind of push yourself up again until you can find tension and bring yourself back up. So once again, you want to have a partner that's roughly similar weight to you, or if you really need to, you could have two partners. And then your leverage is, the weight is the force is gonna be greater and greater and greater as you get horizontal. Most people probably won't get that horizontal, so it won't be an issue. But this will be the final version of the knee flexion drills that we're doing.